Good evening, children. All the centers, good evening. How are you? Yes, Shillong. I cannot see you. Please share your camera port number. Okay, fine. Okay. So, last class we completed a chapter that was biomolecules, isn't it? So, I guess we are not connected to any centers now. If it net is not working, you can talk to me on our groups that we have made. We can talk on the groups also, but last chapter was biomolecules. So do we have any doubts on biomolecules? If not on chat, you can tell me on groups as well. If the chat is not working. Yes. Okay, I guess there is some issue. So what we will do is that we will move back to human physiology and we will start a new chapter, that is locomotion and movement. We're going to start up a new chapter. So the basic thing what we have till now covered, all the chapters, what we have covered in physiology is digestion, breathing, exchange of gases, circulation, excretion, and the fifth chapter is locomotion and movement. So this is an important chapter from the perspective of our movement, our locomotion, which is a basic discriminating point where we talk about animals and plants, that we always talk about that plants they cannot move, animals they can move, isn't it? So locomotion is what, first of all, what is movement? Movement is basically any kind of change in position. Change in position means change in body posture. Like if I am writing, okay, if I am teaching you, these all things, if I am speaking, all these things are movements. So what are movements? There are small changes in the body, small changes in the body. So when you take together a lot of movements, many movements together, in a way that our position with respect to environment changes is called as locomotion. So when you are moving your body, when you are walking, isn't it? So the best example would be walking in humans. We can talk about more locomotory organs as such. And animal kingdom, when we will be talking about the different types of animals, so when you talk about small movements, that is basically comprising together to make a whole lot of big movement, that is change in the position with respect to environment, we call it to be locomotion. So if you go for the locomotory organs, in different groups of animals, I'll start up with the basic ones. So we know that all the animals, they don't have that property to move from one point to another point. For example, if you talk about porifera, porifera is not having the capability to move from one place to another place. So porifera is basically the sponges, the bath sponge, cycon, Leucocolonia, that is all coming under porifera. So we'll start talking about locomotory organs from Hydra onwards. So what is Hydra? What is the locomotory organ in Hydra? If a question like this comes to you, we will talk about its tentacles. Isn't it? The tentacles are the locomotory organs, as if this is the hydra and it has a bunch of tentacles on its head, and these tentacles, they help the hydra in locomotion, in moving from one place to another place. This is about hydra. If we talk about earthworm, isn't it? If we talk about earthworm, that is Peritima, the locomotory organ in earthworm or Peritima happens to be setae. So setae are small structures which actually help the animal in locomotion from one place to another place. And in the same view, we talk about arthropods. Arthropods, say insects. One of the examples of arthropods, they have paired appendages. Isn't it? Now one more annelida. Annelida should have been placed over here before arthropoda. Just missed it out, sorry. We have an annelid called as nereis. This is marine annelid. And the locomotory organ they have is parapodia. Parapodia, parapodia. So parapodia happens to be their locomotory organs. So similar kind of locomotory organs we have in Echinodermata also. The most talked about example is from this starfish. They have tube feet. So tube feet helps them in locomotion from one place to another place. Fine. So we do have certain locomotory organs that actually helps actually helps the organisms in locomoting from one place to another place. Fine. So we will talk about humans. We'll talk about the human physiology chapter. So we are more interested in humans. So what we have for locomotion? We have two things for locomotion. We have the skeletal system plus the striated muscles. The striated muscles also called as striped muscles or since they are attached to a skeletal system, they are also called as skeletal muscles or voluntary muscles. So these striated muscles, what they do is that they attach themselves to the bones as in skeletal system and help in locomotion as well as movement. So this is a priority now. What we have is, we do need to have a system, isn't it? We do need to have a system that is going to support my locomotion and movement. And that system is what? That system is basically the skeletal system, that is the bone part of your body. And to the bone part, we do have some kind of muscles attached. And what are those muscles? Those muscles are striped muscles. also called as striated muscles, also called as skeletal or voluntary muscles. Fine, I guess it must be clear. Nothing much complex till now. So moving ahead, so we will be dividing this chapter into two sections. The first section will be dealing with skeletal system, and the second section we will deal with the striated muscles in the skeletal system. Isn't it? We'll deal with two parts. Let us start with the first part, that is skeletal system. So our skeletal system, we have to divide it into two sections, first and foremost thing. This is axial. This is axial is something which is in the axis of the body, in the middle part of your body. So this is the axial skeletal system, and the appendicular forms the side parts. So if you talk about these particular girdles, pectoral girdles, hand, whole of your hand in fact, this particular shoulder part, collar part, this all forms the appendicular skeletal system, along with the same thing repeated in your lower part of the body also, like in pectoral girdle, and pelvic girdle and your hind limbs. And similarly, axial skeletal system, it consists of the center of the body, axis. All the things which are running in the axis of your body comprises of axial skeletal system. So let's see one by one both of them. First of all, the axial skeletal system starts with the skull. The skull, the bony part in which your brain is enclosed. So we'll not talk about only brain, but skull also has two basic parts. The first is the cranium, that is your brain box. The second is the facial bone. So cranium is something which is covering your brain, isn't it? And facial is something that is basically for the part which covers the whole face, the face section. So cranium is a particular part which is brain box, called as brain box. And this brain box is quite important. Why? Because it is going to protect your brain, isn't it? It's going to protect your brain. It is going to give a structure to your head, in fact. And facial again is important because that is again important for the type of each of the facial bone is different in some human beings. The shape is different a bit. And that actually decides the type of the features we have. Like the nose of many people, they will be different. Ears will be different. Why? Because these bones are somehow different. And obviously, if they are somehow different, they will be giving a different appearance. Minor differences. Okay, so we have facial. And this is skull. So if you talk about cranium, don't be afraid. I will be just giving you some names, very good names in fact. This is frontal. The first and foremost bone, this is frontal. That is a part of your forehead. So you have one frontal in your cranium. This section has two bones, and this is called as parietal. So we have one parietal here, two parietals. Then we have temporal, one temporal over here, just on the top of your ears, and one temporal here. So you have two temporal bones. We have one occipital. Occipital comes in the back part. Immediately after parietal, we have occipital bone over here. And we have a ethmoid and a sphenoid. This is somehow connecting your, or a barrier between the sections of your different parts of brain. So you do have a total of how many bones in your cranium? 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8. So in total you have 8 bones in your cranium. So your cranium is comprising of a total of 8 bones. We'll keep on highlighting these things since they are important. So 8 bones are present in your brain box or in your cranium. Let's talk about facial. Similarly, we'll start with cheek. This particular 2 bones, the cheek bones, are called as zygomatic. So you have 2 cheeks, so 2 zygomatic. This particular orbitals, they are called as lacrimal bones. 2. Lacrimal is a section where your eye orbits are placed. Then you have this nose particular thing. This is called as nasal conchae, or we can just say it to be nasal bone 1. Then we have is two of inferior nasal conchae. We have 2 palate bones. Palate is a particular part of your system, or you can say the particular part of your buccal cavity that helps you pronounce the T word. So this is the upper roof of your mouth, the hard palate in the anterior part, and the posterior part has soft palate. Then we have upper jaw, 2 bones, maxilla. One bone in mandible, 4, 5, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Then we have avoma. These nasal bones are 2 in number because you have 2 nasal chambers. So this gives you a total of how many bones? Let's see. 2 to 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14. So in total, we have 14 bones that comprises our facial bones. 14 in our facial. So we have a total of 14 plus 8. Plus, one more thing we will add to it. Hyoid bone. So what is hyoid bone? Hyoid is a single bone to which your tongue is attached. Just one bone to which tongue is attached. Now, we'll talk about ears. We have 2 ears. Now, these are having in the internal part, middle ear, they have is earocicles. Earocicles are the part of your middle ear. Now, earocicles, there are 3 in number. Malleus, incus, and stapes. 1 malleus, 1 incus, 1 stapes. You can learn this using Miss. But yes, Miss is without double S, with a single S. So you have 2 ears, that means 3 multiplied by 2, giving you a total of 6 earocicles. So you have 8 cranium, 14 facial, 1 hyoid, and 6 erocycles, giving you a total of how many bones? Yes? How many bones do we have in total? This is 1, this is 6, this is 14, this is 8. So obviously this comes to a total of how much? 29. Fine. So our skull has how many bones in total? Our skull has a total of 29 number of bones. So 29 bones comprise the skull part of your body, the skull section of your body. So quite important. 29 bones. Only 29 bones. Isn't it? Seems so simple, but yet it is so very, very complicated. Fine. I guess it must be clear up to this. So this is just a skull section. We have just started with the axial skeletal system. This was the first part only. We have to continue. So 29 bones, done. Now when we move ahead from our skull section, we will go to the next part, that is of the skeletal system, that comprises of the vertebral column. So what I will be doing is, I will be just skeletal system. Let me just mark it out in this way. So the first part of the axial skeletal system. This happens to be, just use alphabet A to mark the first part. That is the skull section. Now moving ahead from the skull, second section of the axial skeletal system, B part of the axial skeletal system is my vertebral column or the vertebra. So this also comprises of many bones. This also is consisting of a whole support system that is going to support my body in sitting, in maintaining a posture, in walking, in everything, isn't it? So vertebral column or vertebrae plays a very important role in maintaining our body's posture in different kinds of activities that we are engaged in. So our vertebral column is comprising of few things, that is, we will mark it out as the first thing, cervical. The second section is thoracic vertebrae, and the third, lumbar. Fourth is sacrum. The fifth or the tailbone, coccus. So we have these many different types of bones present in our vertebral column. Let us start cervical. So the cervical region is the particular part which is present in your neck region. This is cervical. We have 7 bones in cervical region. It's the next section. In thorax part, we do have 12. In lumbar or in the region of the waist, we have 5. 1 sacrum, 1 coccus each. So precisely speaking, these are the different types of, different parts of the vertebral column. So in total, if you count it, how much is it? Comes to 7 and 12, how much? 19, 20, 21, and 5, 26. So in total, the vertebral column has how many bones? It has 26 bones. Isn't it? Now, depending on this particular number of bones in each region, what we have devised a vertebral formula. Now, what is this vertebral formula? This is the number of bones in each of the section. So, my cervical has 7 bones in this. Thoracic has 12, so 12 bones in this. Lumbar has 5 bones in this. Sacrum has 1 and coccus has 1. So this is the vertebral formula for adult human. Adult human, they have this vertebral formula. Now, why I am telling you adult? Because 4 sacrum and 5 coccus are fused in to form 1 sacrum, 1 coccus. So, a newborn baby has 4 sacrum, a newborn baby has 5 coccus, which fuse to form 1 each. So, if you talk about the newborn babies, or in case of small children, till they learn to walk, the fusion will still move on. So, how many bones do we have? 7 and 12, 19, 19, 5, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. So, a newborn baby has how many bones? Vertebral bones? Or we can say children. Let's call them children because they fuse. Children have 33 bones in their vertebral column, which actually fuses to form 26 in this way. So what we will do is, we will just mention over here 4 and over here 5. So just mention 4 and 5 in the brackets so that we are clear that yes, this is the number of bones in sacrum and coccus respectively. Fine? Sorted? Now moving ahead, from the vertebral column, 26 bones, we have rib cage. Now ribs are the region which are attached to 2 points. Since I have taught you the breathing exchange chapter, you know now that ribs are attached to, in the dorsal side, vertebral column, and on the ventral side, we have a single bone called as sternum. On the ventral side, we have sternum. So sternum is a single bone, whereas vertebral column, how many vertebral column bones will be participating? This is very much clear, obviously, the ones which are present in the thoracic region. So ribs are attached to 12 thoracic vertebrae. All coming and joining on the ventral side to a single sternum. So sternum happens to be a single bone. So if you just try and understand the attachment, so sternum is a small bone, dagger shaped in its structure, somewhat like this. So we have different types of bones, see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now these 7 bones, they start from the vertebral column. And all of them, they end on the sternum. This 1 to 7 pair of, obviously, ribs. The similar thing will be happening this side also. So I won't be drawing this. This will make it more hodgepodge. So these are called as true ribs. How many true ribs do we have? First to 7 pairs. So in total 14 bones. Fine. Now 3 bones will be starting from the vertebral column, but they will end on the 7th bone, 7th rib instead of the sternum. They are called as false ribs. Fine. How many false ribs do we have? 8, 9 and 10th pair. All these are pairs. So 8, 9 and 10 pairs are the false ribs. And then take a different color. 2 of the ribs, they start from the dorsal side, but they fail to reach the sternum or any of the ribs. They are called as floating ribs. 11th and 12th pair. Don't forget to mention pair. So let's just sum up. So you have 1 to 7 pairs of true ribs. Then you have is 8, 9, 10th pairs of false ribs. And 11th and 12th pairs of floating ribs. As in, you have 14 here, 6 here, and 4 here. So in total you have how many? You have 24. Let's highlight it quickly. So in total you have is 24 bones in your ribs. So your rib cage has a total of 24 bones that is going to support the thoracic part of your body. Fine? Sorted? Let's see what we have done up till now. So we're talking about, first of all, axial skeletal system. I told you we have 29 bones in axial skeletal system. First part is skull, plus we have 26 bones in the vertebral column, plus we have, where is it? Over here. One more thing we are left with. This thing. We have one sternum, Mm-hmm. And 24 bones in the rib cage. So let's calculate 29 and 130, 26, 30, 56, 24, 80. So in total your axial skeletal system has how many bones? It has 80 bones. Total of 80 bones are present in your axial skeletal system that comprises of the axis of the body. So we are having 80 bones over here. Let's start up with the next part. So appendicular will be my next target. We'll see appendicular skeletal system arrangement and everything. Yes. So second part would be your appendicular skeletal. So your appendicular skeletal system has again the arm part, the shoulder part, sorry. First is pectoral girdle. To the pectoral girdle are attached the forelimbs. Then we have is pelvic girdle, to which we have attached is hind limbs. So we'll divide it into 4 sections, short and sweet. Pectoral girdle, this part, forelimbs attached to the pectoral girdle. Then we have similarly pelvic girdle, the waist region of your body, and to them attached are the hind limbs. Let's start up with pectoral girdle. So pectoral girdle is this part. This has only 2 bones. The shoulder bone or the scapula and the collarbone or the clavicle. So you have one scapula over here, other scapula over here, the shoulder bones. One clavicle, this particular thing is clavicle. This collarbone, the 2 clavicles over here. So just write 1, 1, and we'll multiply 2 into 2. So each pectoral girdle has 2 bones. You have 2 pectoral girdles, that means you have 4 bones in total in this part. Forelimbs, let's see, we'll start with this part. This is humerus, the arm part. Then we have towards the thumb. Remember, towards the thumb we have radius. Towards the little finger we have is ulna. These are carpals. To the palm region we have is metacarpals. And these are all fingers. They are phalanges. So we are having this kind of, 8 carpals, 5 metacarpals and 14 phalanges. So 3 in each, but in this finger we have 2 phalanges. So total of, I guess this must be 30. Just let's cross check it. 3, 11, 11, 5, 16, 14, 30. So you have 30 bones in one forelimbs. Again we will double it because you have 2 forelimbs. A total of 60 bones. So you have 60 bones in your forelimbs, in both of your forelimbs. Similarly, let's see pelvic girdle. Now, pelvic girdle is an innominate bone. Innominate bone means a fused bone, which is made up of 3 bones. So one innominate bone on each side of pelvic girdle, that gives you a total of 2 innominate bones on left and right, and you have is 2 pelvic girdles. 2 bones in pelvic girdle precisely. Now, which bone has fused? Which of the bones have fused to form your innominate bone? They are ilium, ischium and pubis. So you have 3 bones which fuse to form a single bone. This is a fused bone or called as innominate bone. So you have 2 pelvic girdles, one right pelvic girdle and one left pelvic girdle. To the pelvic girdle you have the longest bone attached, the thigh bone or the femur. The most strongest and longest bone of your body. Then we have is tibia. I will mention first the kneecap and then I will mention tibia. So you have a patella over here. That patella is kneecap. Then you have is tibia 1. I'm talking about just one forelimb, a hind limb. Tibia, and then we have is fibula. Seven of tarsals. So tarsal is similar to your carpal, but carpals are 8 in number. In foot you have 7 tarsals. Then you have is metatarsals. How many metatarsals you have? It's writing this way. And finally you have is phalanges. Phalanges are the fingers, the digits of your foot, 14 in number. Let's calculate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 11, 11 and 5 again, 16, 16 and 14, 30. So each of your hind limb has 30 bones. Since you have 2 hind limbs, we'll just double it. 30 multiplied by 2 gives you a total of 60. So you have is 60 bones in your hind limbs. So if you go by this session, by particular countings, we'll just have a total of it. Let's see. The same way we did for axial. We'll repeat it. 4 plus 60 plus 2 plus 60. 60, 60, 120, 124, 126. So what do we have? We have a total of 126 bones in the appendicular skeletal system. So your axial has how many? Axial has 80. Here. And appendicular has how many? 126. So 80 plus 126, 206 bones. So our skeletal system is made up of 206 bones that give them the particular, that gives it a particular shape, structure and placement. So this is quite important for the existence of our system, that we have this kind of skeletal system to support our body movements, to support our locomotion, everything. Isn't it? Let's quickly revise whatever we have done. So we started with, from here we will say, we started with this thing, locomotion, movement. So small changes are said to be movement. And when you go for big changes, that is change in placement, change in displacement from one point to other, you are moving, they are said to be what? They are said to be locomotion. We talked about different locomotory organs after that. And then we proceeded with the physiology part in us, that is humans. So our locomotion is basically because of 2 things. That is first, the bones called as skeletal system. And second thing, the striated muscles or the skeletal muscles, striped muscles or voluntary muscles. So voluntary muscles we know. These are the muscles which are under our will. So if I don't want to write, I won't write. Since I'm willing to write, I'm writing. Isn't it? So this is because it is under my will. So they are attached to the skeletal system, the basic thing, and they help in what? They help in locomotion and movement. Let's see the breakup of the skeletal system. We first started with two parts of the skeletal system. The first was the axial skeletal system and second is the appendicular part. Now, the axial skeletal system is comprising of different sections. The first one is the skull. Skull again is divided into different parts. What are they? They are cranium, facial, hyoid, and erocycles. Frontal, the forehead bone, the first part, then parietal, temporal, occipital, ethmoid, sphenoid, giving you a total of 8 bones. Just let me know in case you are not able to place the bones properly. Then zygomatic, lacrimal, nasal, inferior nasal concave, palatine, maxilla, mandible, vomer. Total of 14 bone comprises your facial structure, all these facial bones. Tongue is attached to a single bone, hyoid. You have 6 erocycles, 3 in each middle ear. We will do this thing in second last chapter. After this, neural control and coordination. So you have 6 erocycles, 1 malleus, 1 incus, 1 stapes, MIS, and those erocycles are doing what? They are actually amplifying the sounds that are going to reach your ear. So in total we have 29 bones in our skull. If you add together, we will end with 29. Vertebral column, cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacrum, coccus, each one having 7, 12, 5, 1, 1, 4, 5 fused, respectively number of bones. Giving you a vertebral formula, that is this thing. Since I told you that children have 33 bones, which in adults they fuse to form a single bone. We have a rib. In fact, we have many ribs attached to vertebral column and sternum. Sternum on the ventral side, ribs, vertebral column on the dorsal side. So accordingly, we have 3 types: true ribs, false ribs, and floating ribs. True ribs, they start from the dorsal part or the vertebral column, end on the sternum. False, start on the dorsal part of the vertebral column but end on the 7th rib. Floating, they start from the vertebral column but never meet any of the bones of ribs or sternum either. So you have 24 over here and 1 over here. Add all of them. When we'll add, we will get a total of 80. Cross check it. Just let me know in case of doubt. Appendicular skeletal system supports the lateral parts of your body. Pectoral girdle, the first thing. Then you have forelimbs, pelvic girdle, and hind limb. You have 4 sections of it. Scapula, shoulder bone, clavicle, collarbone. So 1 scapula, 1 collar. In each pectoral girdle, since you have 2 pectoral girdles, you have 4 bones. Humerus, radius, ulna, carpals, metacarpals, phalanges. All of them comprise of 30 bones. 1 forelimb, 30, 2 forelimbs, 60. Pelvic girdle formed by fusion of 3 bones. What are those bones? Ilium, ischium, pubis. So you have 1 innominate bone, 1 pelvic girdle, 1 innominate, 2 pelvic girdles. Just make it S. 2 pelvic girdles, that means 2 bones. That is 1 into 2, left pelvic girdle and right pelvic girdle. Similarly, the hind limbs comprise of femur, patella, that is kneecap, tibia, fibula, tarsal, metatarsal, phalanges. Total of 30 bones. So we'll add all of them, 4, 60, 60 and 2. Total of 126. Sorted? Clear? So we have what? We have this particular calculations at the end of the class. This is the summary of whole class. That is, you have how many axial bones? You have 80 axial bones and you have 126 appendicular bones, and the total give you a sum total of 206 bones of your skeletal system. Isn't it? Short and sweet. Yes. Just let me know in case you have any doubt somewhere. Yes. I cannot see anybody on the chat box, but still, if you people are connected on the WhatsApp, if you are able to message me, please over here. Isn't it? I'm waiting. If your center is logged in, please let me know. So we completed one whole section of the locomotion and movement, that is the skeletal part. We have done with the skeletal part. Yes. This whole section is completed. Fine. In the next section, we will see how the movement takes place. That is how I am able to write, isn't it? How I am able to hold the pen, how I am able to move my hand. And that whole thing will be the structure of these striated muscles. We will see in the next class. That is how the structure is there. The structure of, first thing, striated muscles plus the movement in striated muscles. So we have two things over here, and we are going to do this part, this section in the next class. So just let me know in case when you see this video and you have any problem. Just let me know. So for now, I will be wrapping up the class. The next class, we will see the striated muscles part. Fine. So let's sorted. So let's just message me on the WhatsApp group or ask me in the class whenever you have a problem in this particular section. Since many of you are not connected today, I do expect many questions from your side. And just let me know if anything is not explained well, if you find it. Fine, so let's wrap up the class and we will meet in the next week. Hopefully, everything is settled by then. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Good night. Take care.